What's up guys, my name is BoostStreams and welcome back to another Tower of Fantasy guide. A few days ago I made a short guide on dodging in Tower of Fantasy, but there was a lot of information left to be desired and naturally I received several questions in both the YouTube and Reddit comments. Today I'll be answering all of those questions to the best of my ability. After the questions, I'll examine a clip of my gameplay against a boss and explain every move I'm making in terms of dodging. Number 1. I know what the indicator is. When do I dodge? First, just a quick reminder that the dodge indicator is a horizontal red line on the screen before an enemy attacks. I found the best way for me to trigger the dodge is to dodge immediately when I see the indicator, but this may vary depending on your ping, internet connection, and traffic on your server. As such, it will just take practice to figure out the timing. Number 2. How do I tell if the Fantasia cooldown is over? The cooldown for triggering a Fantasia is 15 seconds. The indicator is very hard to find, and even reading what it was, I still couldn't find it for a while, so I don't blame anyone for not knowing this. When you dodge an attack, a very tiny symbol above your health bar will appear with a bullet on it and a timer around the edges. This is the timer for when you can next trigger a Fantasia. It starts immediately when the Fantasia is triggered, and until the symbol is gone, you cannot trigger one. It's worth noting, however, that during the cooldown you can still dodge attacks, you just won't trigger the Fantasia. Realistically, I don't think you'll want to keep an eye on this indicator. It's super small, and since it's on the bottom of the screen, it can distract you from the enemies attacking you, leading you to get hit by attacks and die instantly. I know because this happens to me all the time. After you play and practice dodging enough, you'll be able to roughly keep track of the 15 seconds in the back of your head. Until then, it's really not hard to just run out of most attacks instead of triggering a Fantasia, and a lot of the time your teammates will trigger one for you. When they trigger one, simply run into their Fantasia and the same effects still apply to you even if you're on cooldown. Before we go on to the next question, if you're still watching the video at this point, I'm pretty sure you're enjoying it. If that is the case, please leave a like down below. Number 4, I can't trigger Fantasia all the time. Why is this? This is most likely due to the fact that you're trying to trigger Fantasia while it's on cooldown, which is explained in question number 2. If your Fantasia is not on cooldown, however, the most likely reason is that you're not within range of the enemy's attack. Since it is dodging an attack, you can't actually trigger a dodge unless you are going to be hit by the attack. Sometimes you're a little further than you thought you might have been. This also could be due to server lag, ping, or your internet connection, in which case you'll have to practice a bit and figure out the timing. Number 5. What about dodging the horizontal attacks on the ground? Attacks on the ground are indicated by 2 red circles. One wider one and one starting at the enemy that gradually expands towards the wider circle. When the 2 circles intersect, the enemy will execute the attack. Notice, however, that even during these attacks, the enemy will still display the horizontal red line at their eye level. I would recommend trying to pay attention to this rather than the timing of the circles, but if you're not looking up, I would recommend trying to dodge the instant before the circles intersect. This next point is super important. You can't dodge every attack. For example, with this enemy on the screen, even though I can trigger a Fantasia, I still get shocked by the electricity after the Fantasia is over. The same goes for other attacks like missiles, ranged projectiles, etc. So if it's an attack you know, or even think you can't dodge, just run away and don't try to do anything fancy. It's better to survive and live to fight again. The best attacks to try to dodge are melee attacks. Number 6. There are so many effects going off that I can't see the indicator. This happens a lot in a lot of boss battles, or battles with several other players all executing their own skills. Even if you can't see the indicator, you should be able to see the boss's body, and they usually make big movements when they're about to attack. If you can't see the indicator or aren't confident in being able to trigger a Fantasia, just run away. Number 7. What about PvP? I haven't tried PvP yet, and don't really want to try PvP in a gacha game out of principle, so I can't answer at this time. Number 8. My connection is poor, so I can't dodge, or I have to time it differently. I've never experienced this issue, so once again I can't really comment on it. Just try to run away from the attacks and get out of their range instead of being fancy and triggering Fantasias. You can always run into the Fantasias your teammates trigger for the same effect. Number 9. The indicator does not exist for me. If this is the case, you should look in your settings to make sure you don't have anything set to completely transparent. If that is not the case, then you should contact support, as there is most likely something wrong with your client or the game. Number 10. Enemies attack so fast that I can't dodge the second attack after dodging the first. Yep, this happens a lot. It's especially annoying when the enemy strings a chain of attacks together, then staggers you, you can't dodge, and you die. This happens way too often, and I hate it every time. And there are some attacks that you didn't even know were coming, like the BDSM attack from Seraph that lifts you up in the air. I guess my answer to this is just, I feel for you, and it's just a mechanic of how the game works, unfortunately. My advice would be to upgrade your equipment for more res, and use a healing weapon like Pepper's weapon or Coco Ritter's Absolute Zero, so that if you aren't one-shot, you can switch into that weapon and heal up immediately. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at this gameplay that I did from Bygone Phantasm. Now this is on floor 35. Now this is against a boss in Bygone Phantasm, and we're just going to look through the dodging part of this. So let's go ahead and we're just going to start here. Awaken, okay. We're on level 35, so we're fighting against the Minotaur. So first up, I'm just using Absolute Zero on the Pepper set to charge up my discharge skills on the other ones. There's the horizontal dodge. So we dodged, and you can see that there is the red indicator up there. Now we're just going into Nemesis's skills, switching in, and taking advantage of the Fantasia and the stun on the boss after the dodge. Now he's attacking again. I can't trigger a Fantasia. You'll notice that the cooldown is still there. And as such, I just keep dodging and running away and making sure that I don't get hit. Now I'm able to use Shiro's discharge skill because I have it charged up thanks to Absolute Zero's B, which is her advancement 1. And we just keep dodging, use Shiro's E. We now have our Fantasia cooldown back, so now we're able to dodge, switch into Nemesis, do some damage, and then now we can climb up on the Minotaur's back, which is a mechanic that I think a lot of people don't really know. But yeah, this is actually with a lot of bosses. You can climb up on their back and mount them. I promise that's not really weird. That has nothing to do with any of the other waifus. It's just mounting the Minotaurs, unfortunately. So then we keep going. The Minotaur's at pretty much relatively low health. We just throw in a snipe with Nemesis, some heals with Absolute Zero, why not? Just get in some shots, and then we switch into Nemesis's discharge skill. We have our Fantasia timer back up, but it doesn't really matter, just because we're gonna kill him anyway. So that's just kind of what some sample gameplay against a boss with dodging and not getting hit and not really taking any damage looks like. I know this boss was a little bit underleveled compared to me, but this is just in general to kind of showcase the mechanics of what's going to happen while you're dodging in real time in actual combat. And that's all of your dodging questions answered. If this video was helpful, please leave a like and subscribe down below, as subscribing is the best way to support my channel. Thank you for watching, and leave a comment if this was helpful. Peace.